We kick off with Snorri and Mira. And I generally don't get into the whole kind of speaker introduction stuff, but this has got a little bit of a different opening. So what Snorri and Mira are going to be talking about is a platform framework that they have, which is headquartered in Luxembourg. You'll see that it works across market research, it works across design, it works across store design, it works around consulting, and hopefully you'll see some of the benefits and interesting parts that apply to our industry. So please welcome Snorri and Mira.
Thanks, Dan. I'll take this one. So we can, so we can change the slides.
Okay. Smásalan á Íslandi jókst talsvert síðustu jól og hefur aukist mjög mikið frá árunum þar á undan.
Maloobchodné tržby sa zvyšovali aj za posledný mesiac minulého roka, a to v celku 3,6% za celý 2014.
Försäljningen i Sverige ökade också sista jul, så allting håller på att gå åt rätt håll.
Now, let's do a quick survey. How many of you understood anything of what we just said here? Oh, a couple hands up there. Well, to be honest, we are in Europe, so we should really understand each other. But I have no clue what he was just saying.
What we're looking at is the communication between regions. That, for instance, in the United States, where we have been assisting companies to migrate over to Europe, and vice versa from Europe over to the United States. There are differences of cultures, there are different currencies in Europe, for instance, and different ways to approach both partners, brands, etc., especially VCs as well. Like if you operate out of the United States, you're dealing with a single language, single market, basically homogeneous societal structure, except if you go to New York, you need to operate a little bit faster than if you are in, say, Alabama. So what happens on the United States side, that engaging with Europe may come as a little bit of a shocker, as there are so many different languages and cultural flavors that what works in the US may work in certain areas of Europe, but completely backfire or fall flat in other regions. What we're looking at is find ways to combine the strengths found in both of these markets and capture the sales elements that marketing service providers are basically all engaged with, and we will come into later, in terms of helping each other get into new marketing territories and increase business volume, and the value of the companies.
So, in order to overcome all these barriers, we have identified an opportunity to establish Marketing Control Center. The aim of this Marketing Control Center is to basically bridge and connect various players in the marketing arena globally. And this Marketing Center is most likely to be established in Luxembourg. Why are we looking at Luxembourg? There's a number of reasons. One is that Luxembourg has very good proximity to European Commission. It is a number of funding frameworks that actually focus on improving the improvement of economy in Europe, but it's also home for European Investment Bank. Additionally, Luxembourg has very well structured and developed financial services. So when engaging in this Marketing Control Center, what do you gain? For service providers, you are able to work very closely with other service providers that would otherwise be seen as your competitors if operating from outside of this framework. This means that creating these partnerships, you can utilize each other's strengths, technology, expertise, without having to develop anything yourself. So your customers benefit on a way when they have wide access to wide services targeting the entire marketing value chain, and this means they are able to mix and match and pick and choose services from different providers to basically get the proposition that they want. They have the flexibility of working with one partner or the other one, and you as a service provider can introduce other providers and recommend them through this framework. Additionally, this platform also delivers centralized invoicing, centralized payment collection and distribution, and all this is done via single login in one place.
Naturally, this structure is still on the drawing board. We have reached out to a few well-established services providers from different fields, among them a store design firm, advertising, graphic design surveys, data visualizations, and have been exploring over the past months how this type of framework would work for them. Some of them have large clients where they provide their own service, and we've been looking into what service expansions would make most sense for their clients. And then in terms of bringing those elements that are missing to better harness the marketing value chain on the brand side, what solutions can be introduced with a relative ease, so that the lead provider with the client can approach the client with a possibility of expanding what they already have pretty easily. And that becomes, as Mira was saying with the invoicing platform, that this engagement or expansion actually is added to the customer invoice itself. So there's no need for brands necessarily to be dealing with 5 or 10 different service providers. They can deal with one, and that one expands outward. And this can have a completely global reach. We have some operations in Brazil as well, where marketing conditions are also different from the United States and Europe. We're looking into Asia, although we have not looked too closely into it, as we're focusing on these 3 regions. Brazil in particular, as investments in market research and marketing technologies and services is booming and has increased dramatically since FIFA took place, and is going to soar even further to prepare for the Olympics. So, the Luxembourg platform. What we're looking at, and the structure we have found to be capturing the core element, is a front-end facing element. Would you want to go into the front-end facing element, perhaps?
Well, the front-end facing element means that customers can benefit from services that service provider provides on the front end. These are marketing services that basically targeting the whole value chain. This can be anything from store design to the tracking technology and other similar services like that.
Yeah, we can combine location analysis to augmented reality to customer intelligence, etc., through a single entity. And by coupling, for instance, those 3 together, and assuming that each is operating in a different region of the world, they can combine their effort in landing customers in these 3 regions and bring one another into the framework. For companies and enterprises that actually generate data, which I expect most here are involved with, we are looking at standardization of the data backend, which enables data users to plug into and extract information from this pool using a single API. This is something that is at the forefront of European Commission projects, where data standardization, especially in terms of languages, is paramount. Because we have all these apples and oranges out there, and if we're pulling together all these different technologies, the format by which the output is presented is not uniform, and this is one of the abilities that we would like to see built into the platform. You want to cover the front and back? Or actually, payment terminal, sorry.
So in terms of the payment terminal, this platform will provide centralized invoicing, which means that service provider needs to issue one single invoice for working, let's say, working with 10 or more customers. They will just issue one invoice. It will go through the platform, and then the platform has the ability to distribute all these to the customers as needed. In return, when the customers make payment, they can work with maybe 5 or 10 different service providers because they are incorporating more services. But instead of doing all these separate payments, they will just make one payment based on the invoice to the platform, and the platform automatically distributes these payments to the service providers as appropriate.
This is one of the reasons we are looking at Luxembourg in particular, because of the strength of the financial sector there. One of the key elements of this invoicing platform is that the customer will always be exposed to the deals and the cost structures in each deal in the local currency. So assuming that we have a partnership framework of 5 different entities located in 5 different currency markets, the customer will actually only be exposed to the currency they're operating in. Like if it's in the UK, it will be in pounds. If it will be in Germany, we're talking about euros, etc., etc. What happens here at the legal end, the bubble you see there to the left, is how the work packages and the deal structure is actually built up. We have the timelines there, and delivery dates, and who is actually handling what part of each stage. That is automatically wired into the payment terminal, which handles all the cash flows from there. And that pretty much concludes this brief overview, and we would love to hear from you if you have any questions or what opportunities or potential issues you can perceive or detect. So we're open for questions.
Mira.
None.
Some questions. Can you just recap for us briefly again? It's fascinating what you presented, but how does that apply to the people in this room? What can the research industry get most from what you described?
Yeah. Let's do a quick survey. How many here operate out of the United States? How many are operating in Europe? How many are operating in both markets? Have you come across any obstacles working between these 2 markets, migrating your abilities over to the other markets, or is it seamless? Is there room for improvement to make both the sales cycle or actual business growth? Do you see potential in this framework to accelerate your own business? Any comments on that, or?
We have some introverts in the room.
Oh, we clearly do, yeah.
For those of you that didn't manage to attend the growth hacking workshop, Kristin Luck explained that a lot of us in this kind of industry are a mix between introvert and extrovert. We have to force ourselves to be brave enough to put our hands up and ask questions. But
well,
I see a few nods, so that's good. Maybe some people will ask you some questions.
And also, if you do want to come and speak to us, we're going to be here for the whole 2 days, so you can always find us around and chat with us, and we can talk more.
Yeah, we'll actually be giving a presentation on location tracking solutions tomorrow, where this framework will be actually explained in detail, because it is a special case that we're looking into to use as a test for this type of framework. So, as Mira said, if you want to learn more about this or are curious to see if you could get involved and how, please feel free to approach us at any time.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.